Welcome, everyone, to Mystic Radio with Robin Alexis and Elizabeth Diane. I'm Elizabeth Diane, and I'm your host today. So after recognizing the need to inspire humanity to nature and nurture well-being and build resilient community, two friends in Mount Shasta came together to bring you the most amazing guests, all of them very real and actively following their heart's callings in ways that strengthen their communities. The more we recognize and appreciate what helps us all thrive, the more we can find ways to turn our actions into gold for a beautiful future. One way that you can do that is to help by supporting our sponsors, BeWellHive.org and RobinAlexis.com. More about them later. Today's guest will also help you align with your greatest purpose and life expression in powerful, proven ways. Mark Romero is a renowned vibrational healer and sound healing guitarist who empowers people to break free from energetic barriers and tap into their full potential. A former NASA consultant validated the healing of frequencies in his music, leading Mark to develop his transformative vibrational success sound technology. I'm excited to get into that with him today, too. Through live experiences, online programs, and healing sessions, he has helped people reduce stress, elevate performance, and create profound transformations in their lives. What a beautiful gift you give, and welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and really interested to see where this is all going to unfold into. So I'm ready when you are.
All right. Well, let's get into it. I wanted to share, since I was a young girl, I gravitated toward two things I was really passionate about. One is piano, and the other is structures. Like, I wanted to build with blocks and Legos and all of that. And it wasn't until I was about 40 years old that I realized that my passions for music and architecture, sacred geometry, and so forth are based on the same thing, which is the patterns of the universe. And so I'm wondering, because I know that these patterns are vibration. When we see them static, like sacred geometry, it's like frozen music, right? So I'm wondering, how do we use vibration, and especially sound and music, to break free from our limitations and step into a higher expression of ourselves? And what's the science behind it?
Music is just this amazing thing. It has in itself, before we add any harmonizing frequencies or anything to the music, let's just look at music itself. Music itself has been used for eons, thousands and thousands of years, to help people to heal, to shift their lives, to even move heavy objects and things like that. And so there's an inherent property within music itself. I think it has this ability to penetrate and permeate beyond the critical thinking mind. It has this ability to go right into a person's energy field. And I think that in itself is an inherent, profound benefit of music. But then when you add harmonizing frequencies or intention to it, it really becomes this vehicle for healing, transformation, and really opens up the door for just some amazing shifts that can take place within an individual that's engaging, that's listening to the music. My journey all started way back when. It's kind of funny because I was playing for one of my wife's friends, had a wellness center, and I was playing music one night for their open house. And after I'm done playing, she comes up to me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I hear tones in your music." Now, at this particular point in my own personal journey, there was a level of degree that I was open to, but there was also a level of what I would consider woo-woo back then. And my first thought when this lady said this to me is, oh my gosh, she's going to go off the deep end. I could just tell intuitively, right? And then she gets right up in my face, and nobody can hear the tones but me. And I'm like looking, yeah, I'm right. And my response to her was, I go, and I heard some tones too, man. Back in the 80s, listening to Pink Floyd, watching the lava lamp, we heard some tones. And she
Oh
goes, No,
yeah.
I'm serious. She goes, I know these scientists. Let me get a CD from you and I want to give it to them. And I'm like, okay, here's the CD. You can have it for free. Maybe she'll go away. Maybe she'll stop freaking me out. And I didn't think anything more about it until I get an invite from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ronald Jones, who was a former top consultant to NASA and was involved in developing products and solutions that would help people to rise above the static and noise of the vibrational barriers we have in our environment. So they discovered frequencies in my music that actually tune and harmonize listeners' energy fields. And so I would love to say it was part of my conscious master plan to bring this forward, but it really wasn't. It was something that got brought to my attention through, I guess, what we could call on one level random connection, but also very synergistically part of the revealing process of my own innate ability to harmonize disharmonious energy frequencies. So, next thing I know, I'm invited to a lecture on quantum physics. This is almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of quantum physics. I'd never even thought to look beyond myself as anything that I could, experience through my senses. And that night, my whole life paradigm got broken up and shaken and stirred. And I got to learn that who we see in the mirror is the tip of the iceberg of who and what we are. We're these masterful, beautiful extensions of a field of energy that's unlimited in its potential. And, so this started me off on my journey and my learning and what was the potential that was available to assist people in their journey through life through something that started off as a hobby. I literally went to go see Pink Floyd The Wall in concert and proceeded to torment my dad. Dad, guitar for my birthday, Dad, how about a guitar for dinner, and that was how it all started. He got me that guitar. It was love at first strum. And, it was something that I did for me. It was something not with the intention of becoming a rock star and certainly not with the intention of becoming any kind of vibrational healer or anything like that.
Yeah. Wow, what a journey. And I love what you were talking about there about how you found these tones that just are scientifically like shown to be, very effective. And then the science, of quantum physics is supporting all of this. And I remember a time too where it was a philosophy class in college that I just was floored that they were trying to convince me that maybe that the solidity of the table was an illusion. And
Hmm.
I'm like, I met my resistance there, and I always thought, oh, I love, branching my mind out and challenging myself that way. But that one was just like I was back and forth between no, I can't accept that versus like, wait, how can it be? And now we really can tell that there's a background field and there's all these patterns behind it and everything is vibration and there's just really no doubt that it's a reality now, what to people who are following science. And of course the wise sages of the past or the intuitives like my co-host Robin, see it and know it already.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm really kind of wondering, do you see a correlation between consciousness and intention and these vibrations and healing? How does that work with your music?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So, yes, to answer in the short form, there's definitely a connection. And I think as my journey kind of unfolded, it kind of revealed itself over the years. And Doc, he was the gentleman who discovered the energy and actually demonstrated to me how the music could instantly tune somebody's energy. and instantly see a shift in their strength, flexibility, endurance, coordination, and balance.
Wow.
And as a result, it would tune their field and put them in an optimal state for improved physical performance, which we do have a physical vehicle or avatar in
Yeah.
which we go through this experience, but also enhance mental memory, focus, also the right brain, creativity, intuition, and actually put the body into a state for optimal self healing. And so when we ask about the connection, there was a point in time where Doc had made his transition, and I was kind of out on the wilderness, not really sure what I was supposed to do with the music, not really sure what was the best way to bring it forward. And a friend of mine had sent me an email with a link to a sound healing conference in like Santa Fe, New Mexico. You should go to this. And so I remember going to the website and clicking the video, and there's all these boring scientist guys talking, yes, and this is the sound vortex. I'm like going, oh my gosh, there's no way. It's hard for me to sit down for a prolonged period of time. There's no way I'm going to be able to sit down through 3 days of scientist guys like this talking. But then one guy said one thing that totally captured my ear and reverberated through all these, goosebumps and everything. He said, music is the carrier wave for intention. So
Yeah.
when we look at consciousness and we look at intention, intention is the beginning command. It's how we step into our power. As human beings, we love to get all caught up. Oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to heal my life? How am I going to take my business to the next level? Way wrong question to ask. The how is not your domain.
Right.
Okay, your domain is to step into your power as a sovereign spiritual being and to set the intention, put in the command to create something. So it was out of that video and out of starting to work with people, and actually showed up one day. I was doing a session with a young lady who had a very common reoccurring negative pattern. 10 years, I keep attracting the same dysfunctional relationship SOB. No matter what I do, no matter what I've done. Okay. And I'm like, okay. So I'm listening to her. I'm like going, oh my gosh, she's out of tune. She's not in alignment with what she wanted to create. So I started asking some questions. Well, ended up that she had a very volatile relationship with her father growing up, and there was a lot of unresolved issues there. And so I said, you know what? I go, let me ask you a question. Are you willing to set the intention, put the command in to forgive your father and realize that he did the best that he could with his level of awareness? And the time has come, if you're open to it, to let go of that resentment. And she said, yes. And then I got this like intuitive hit. Play her a piece of music for forgiveness. And so I had my studio open and I just grabbed the guitar, and it was like the guitar played me. Out comes a piece of music I'd never played before. I recorded it in the studio and I sent it to her after the call. I said, listen, I go, I want you to play this in your space. Let's see what opens up. And then every time I tell a story, I get total shivers. She calls me up 3 days later and she goes, you're not going to believe this, Mark. My dad called me today out of the blue. And he said, you know what? 10 years is way too long to have unresolved stuff between us. Are you open to sitting down and talking about reconciliation and forgiveness? She goes, you don't understand, Mark. My dad is like total macho man dude, never seen him cry, would never do anything like that. And I go, the biggest lesson that we all need to learn is that our energy, our state of being, our resonance, what we put out to the field is what mirrors back. You set an intention, stepped into your power to let go of something that needed to be let go of. And what pops into your experience, an opportunity to heal what absolutely needed to be healed before you were ever going to be able to create the healthy, loving relationship with a male figure that you desired. I go, in essence, really what you were doing was popping into your experience disharmonious relationships as a way to flag you down, to get your attention that there's something within you that you need to heal. And it was to let go of this long-standing resentment and unresolved trauma issues and to release and dissipate that energy out of her field. And as a result, an opportunity came up to have that conversation with her father and ultimately opened the door for her to be able to create the relationship that she wanted to create. So out of that experience, I'm like going, maybe I'm onto something here. And that's where I started intentionalizing pieces of music, but only as a way to support the clients and the people that I was working with their intentions that they were willing to set. Combine that with somebody's willingness to shift, transform, and heal with the reverberations and the energy within the music, it could really help somebody to release and let go what no longer was serving them, but also to embody new higher states of being that were more in alignment with who they really were and what it is that they wanted to create and experience in their lives.
Mark, that is profound. It is beautiful. I feel like you've just downloaded all the listeners in the field with such a gift that, everything you just said, I feel like putting that on repeat. I encourage our listeners, if they want to just go back and allow that to repeat. And it's kind of like a simple formula. And I think sometimes people maybe get a little caught up in things like the duality of things of either I have to force something to create it, or I sit back and do nothing and it's all in the flow. But there's a balance of
Correct.
setting an intention, but understanding that there's also that divine power or the orchestration of harmony that can come through in the surrender.
Well, we could say balance, but balance, if you look at a teeter-totter, it doesn't move. Energy's always in movement.
True, it's in motion.
So I always call it let's call it harmony.
Yes.
It's interesting because nobody curses at the negative terminal on a AA battery. Damn you, negative terminal. You should be all positive. No, because it won't shine light without both polarities. We have a tendency to only want to experience and honor. We only put the little plus sign on the battery, not the negative sign. Why is that? Because we're so judgmental about negative in our lives, lower density energy. Well, guess what? Here on the game board of planet Earth, we get to deal with polarities, And it's like, rather than fight it, curse it, make ourselves wrong for having it, what could open up? Okay, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use it kind of like the little indicator light that comes on the dashboard of my car. Change your oil. Oh, rather than put tape over it and pretend it doesn't exist, we go change the oil. And what is that process? Letting go of something that's no longer serving us and bringing in a new higher state. It's pointing out to breathe energy, and that's the easiest, most understandable way I can present it. Breathe out what no longer serves you. Breathe in what gives you energy, vibrancy, and life. And through the combination of the two, you work through your life resonance and have the ability ultimately to learn how to consciously change your resonance and align it with what it is that you want to experience and create and manifest in the matrix or the outer world, or however we want to define that.
Beautiful. You reminded me of the work of Walter Russell and and so this is back to the kind of the quantum physics part and the nature of the universe of there's always this in breath and out breath. And so yeah, when we think of balance, sometimes that is more of a static image. But if we think of the breath, and I know you work with that a lot, and I'm curious,
absolutely.
Using this story that you just presented of relationships and forgiveness and setting an intention and then letting the music harmonize the field. I'm wondering if you would like to offer that to the listeners, that maybe relationships on of all sorts or on any level of our being, our physical, our soul, our just to the highest levels could be healed if our as our listeners choose to intend that. Would you like to offer that today?
Yeah, absolutely. And the piece that comes to mind is a musical mantra for opening. And it's interesting because it is literally become, I bookend my healing processes, opening to open, to set the intention, to get clear on what the desire is. Intention, it's interesting you were asking about intention and consciousness because intention is the essential beginning ingredient to set change, transformation, and healing in motion. One of my most favorite emails of all time, this is one of my favorites, is a woman writes me an email and she says, is there any way you can make a song that'll make my husband a better man? And, being a husband, I understand why that email was written. I'm like, and it did make me chuckle. I admit that. But my response was this, you know what? I could compose the most beautiful, powerful piece of music in the universe. But if your husband doesn't want to become a better man or set the intention to do so, it won't matter. Yeah, we can tune his field. But when it comes to changing beliefs, changing ways of being, it's a collaborative dance between consciousness, energy, and intention. There always has to be a willingness. And that's why I always like opening with literally a musical mantra for opening. That's what I call these intentional pieces of music. They're musical mantras. And they have an intention. So with opening, it's about, are you willing to set the intention to heal your life? Are you willing to set the intention to transcend your blocks and barriers? Are you, whatever it might be that you desire, it all begins with an intention. And then once that intention is set, you're literally setting into motion your creative powers and abilities to shape and shift matter and energy. And it all begins in that simple place. As I was mentioning earlier, we always get caught up, oh, how am I going to do this? I mean, oh my gosh, how many of us have beat ourselves up with that? Oh, how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to create this successful business? Shh, just set the intention to create the successful business, move forward, and let the universe, source, however you want to define it, provide you with the hows that'll show up through synchronistic experiences, creative ideas, insights, even show up out of fears and twists and turns that show up along on the journey. So with that being said, I invite everybody who's open to it to set an intention for what it is that you want to heal, what it is that you want to create. And we'll meet up on the other side of this. So just take some nice deep breaths. Breathing deeply. Just observe your breath. The rising and the falling. And allow yourself to relax. Take another deep breath. And as you continue to breathe, Gently set the intention for what it is that you desire to experience in your life. Could be perhaps maybe for more love, more prosperity, more connection, more joy. Just bring it to mind. To the best of your ability, bring whatever that is to your mind's eye, to that creative space of your imagination. Feel into it. Breathe it out and let it go. Take a deep breath. So just take another deep inhale, open mouth, let it go. And gently begin to bring yourself back. And there you go, a little musical mantra for opening.
Wow. I'm feeling so calm and so grateful. And yeah, I don't want to be in the space of words right now, but this is a podcast.
It's so funny I have to share this because there have been times where people have had me on a podcast or a live broadcast or whatever, and then that they'll turn off their video and then I'll finish and I'm like, how come they're not coming back? And then oh wow, oh yes, I'm doing a call, that's right. So I'm glad you made it back.
Definitely. I found the beauty of being able to get in that expanded state and then bringing it back in grounds it into this reality. So, yeah, I invite our listeners to do that and tune in with yourself and see how you're feeling now. Don't get up and drive until you're all the way back. And as we close out this time together, if you feel invited to stay in this energy as long as you want, of course, this podcast will be available to continue listening to this beautiful gift you've given us and repeat the process. I think that helps solidify it too.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so, Mark, how
Hmm.
can people connect with you if they want to take this further, if they want to know more about your work or engage with you, your offerings? How can they do that?
Uh, well, the best place is my website, which is markromeromusic.com, Mark with a K, Romero music.com. In fact, if you want to get yourself I have this beautiful piece of music. It's entitled The Journey. And it was really a piece kind of composed to support our journey through life. So you can go to markromeromusic.com/gift and download this track of music. Once again, markromeromusic.com/gift. And I invite you just to take 5 minutes a day to imagine breathing in the notes, feeling stressed out, significant other getting on your nerves, push play, breathe in the notes and allow it to kind of stabilize you, ground you. It's a great little supportive piece and a wonderful opportunity to experience the benefits of the music. And then, of course, you can always go to social media um, at Mark Romero Music on YouTube, and that's my primary channel. And then, of course, I have Instagram and Facebook, but the main channel is my YouTube channel, which is at Mark Romero Music.
Perfect. Simple to do. And I do encourage people to like and subscribe and follow because if they feel called to, they will get reminders and new information and new offerings from you. And so
Mhm.
thank you for that. And we will post this, of course, in the notes of this podcast. And we also invite listeners to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast. Also, our sponsors, bewellhive.org and robinalexis.com. And so, if you'd like, you can also make a donation at bewellhive.org to support the work of the foundation that is the sponsor of this podcast. We nurture well-being in resilient communities in Mount Shasta and beyond borders, and get involved in your community with your soul's passion and purpose. I really appreciate the information that you presented today, Mark, because we all can use this kind of harmony in our lives in order to go forward and build the resilient communities, whether it's a small nuclear community or a broader community, and of course, the global community. Super blessed and grateful to have you on our podcast today, Mark.
Thank you so very much for having me. It's been a pleasure to have an opportunity to share. And I think, as just to comment on your comment about resilience, that resilience starts within us. And the more that we embody that state of being, the more that we broadcast it, the more that it has impact on the lives of those around us and ultimately in the world. And I think we're opening to it more and more. And I think we're in the process of discovering that how this world looks as we move forward is really up to each and every one of us individually and collectively to create a more harmonious experience. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be on and to share today.
Thank you again. And be well. Hopefully, we have you back on soon and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.